Alright, let's go ahead and actually edit a page. In order to get to the content of the page, click the body button. This will send us to the edit body text area. And inside is the WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG simply stands for what you see is what you get. It's a word processor, much like a Word document or NeoOffice. It works with the actual body of the page itself. Let's go through each of these icons. Up here in the upper left hand corner is a maximize minimize button. If I click it, my entire screen turns into the editor itself. Next to that button is the undo button. It undoes your last action. Next to that is the redo button, which redoes your last action. Next to that is a tag editor, which is useful for embedding code, for example, a YouTube clip. Next to that is the HTML toggle button. And what that does is toggles it so that you can actually view the source itself. This is no more than actual code that is basically rendered onto the screen itself. If you know code, you can always use code. If you don't, you can go back to the editor itself. And this basically, again, functions like any other word processor. So it's useful for those who know code and for those who don't. We have a spell checker. We also have a find and replace. So if you have an article that has a lot of the same word, you can find and replace it if you misspell it. Next to that is the clean up HTML button, which actually cleans up any extra HTML code within the actual source itself. We also have remove formatting button, which will remove any kind of formatting such as the bold lettering or italics. We also have a plain text editor, which means that you can copy a document from a Word document, paste it into the plain text editor, and then it will render itself as just text itself without any kind of formatting around it. Next to that is a link button. This will insert any kind of link either to another page within your site or another page outside of the site. Next to that is insert file link. What that means is you can actually highlight a word and insert a PDF so that when you click on that word, a PDF will appear. Also is useful for MP3s and other types of files. Next to that is the insert anchor link. Basically, if you have a page that has a lot of text, instead of scrolling down throughout the entire page, you can click this button and insert an anchor at various sections throughout the page, and then link it to the top page. If you have, for example, a table of contents at the top of the page, you can link that lower down into the page. Here we have a horizontal rule, which when you click that, simply adds a line. Let's go ahead and undo that. Next to that, we have special characters. Since the WYSIWYG editor is a Unicode, it reads Unicode, you have all kinds of characters that you can insert in here. Anything with from an @ sign to a copyright logo. Next to that is the insert or modify image editor. If you wanted to, you could insert any kind of image within the actual body area itself. And then we also have an insert flash player, which will insert a flash movie. The next line of items is simply formatting for the actual words themselves. The text, we can make it heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. Or we could just make it normal. We can bold it, italicize a word, underline a word, or strike through a word. We can change the color of the word. We can change the background color of the word. We can have a subscript and a superscript. Subscript means just like this. I can highlight the word, and now it's smaller. In the same way, superscript will make it higher up, but also smaller. Next to that is basic quick keystroke. So keyboard shortcuts. And then the following line is all about the formatting of the paragraphs themselves. We have justify left, justify center, justify right, and then justify full. We can add an ordered list, and likewise we can add decimal numbers, bullets. We can decrease an indentation and increase an indentation. If you want to add a table, go ahead and insert a table here. On this side we have the styles. This allows us to float left, float right, clear floats. We can highlight, and we can also do a link box. A float left entails just that. If you have two items next to each other, you can click float left, and they will be floated left to, say, an image over here. Likewise, if I undo that, I can also float this right, and it will float the entire paragraph to the right. I can also highlight a word, and I can also add a link box itself, and that will basically just link it over. A link box would be shown, for example, right here, and have a bunch of links to various sections of either your page or other pages on the web. So let's go ahead and add a new burger selection. We can call this one the Giganto. As you can see, it's already highlighted, it's already italicized rather, only because the preceding paragraph is italicized, and it's still formatted around that. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, click the italicized button, and now it's unitalicized. I'm going to go ahead and embolden it like the other burgers listed here. And that's all the changes I'm going to make at this time. So I can either cancel out and not keep any of those changes, or go ahead and save the changes themselves. I'm going to go ahead and save the changes. Now before I make a full save, I can always preview the page itself and make sure I want to actually save what I just did. So go back to the preview page itself. And I don't like that because there's too much, not enough of a space rather, between the Giganto burger and the downloads. So I'm going to go back and click the body again and edit it once more. What's nice about that preview button is it allows you to go back and forth without making a full change if you don't want to. So what I'm going to do is simply add a space between this line and the following line. In order to do that, I'm going to press Shift and then Return, which will bring me down one space. Pressing Return will make a new paragraph. I don't want a new paragraph. I simply want a new line. So I'm going to press Shift and then Return. Save the changes. Let's preview that again. And that looks a lot better. So I like the way that looks. Right now I'm going to figure out the description and the pricing later, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and save the changes. Click Save Changes. Go back to our actual spotlet. Click our menu. Click Lunch. And there are the changes. Now I want to give you one caveat. When you do preview a page by clicking here, it's not the same as the actual page itself. Preview equals true indicates that this is indeed a preview page. So if you make any kind of changes, you want to make sure you see it through the actual page itself and not necessarily the preview page. Let's get rid of those previews. And that's the basic way to edit text within EditSpot, and Spotlets in particular.